Hello, I'm Milo, traveling with my dog, Willie Nelson.
I'm Jenny with my co-pilot, Dakota.
Two solo van nomads sharing our stories from the road.
We may travel solo, but we don't have to go at it alone.
Girls Just Want to Drive Vans podcast is created to help and encourage other adventurers.
Thanks for joining us.
Hey.
Hey, I'm Jenny, and I am coming to you from Arizona.
And I'm Milo, and I am once again in Mississippi, but at a nice, lovely RV park while I am taking care of my dog's gut issue, and we've been going to the vet. Still, but it's going to get resolved. And we have a new sponsor.
We have a new sponsor.
We do. Are you excited, Jenny?
Oh my gosh, we've been sponsored by so many cool companies.
So many. This may be my personal favorite. I mean, last week's was great, but this week, our episode is brought to you by We Give You Permission Incorporated.
Oh,
would you like to know more?
Yeah, tell me more.
Okay, I'll tell you some more. Since we were children, we were taught to always get permission before doing something we really enjoyed doing, or even enjoyed eating. May I have a cookie? May I go outside to play with my friends in the dark? I wanted to do that. As adults, sometimes we still are in need of that permission. Well, look no more. We're here to help. With We Give You Permission, we're here to fulfill all your dreams. Thinking about taking that time off of work, doing things you want to do that has nothing to do with anyone else's agenda? We give you permission. Wanting to use the money you earn to buy that new thing that you always wanted? We give you permission. With permission, you no longer have to feel guilty about doing something that's good for you. If you need to reclaim your life on your terms, we have you covered. We will give you permission to do good things for yourself with minor indulgences. With We Give You Permission, you could take time to write your book, start that small business, or even train for a marathon. How about moving into a van with your dog? You bet. We cover that. Think about the life you will have when you have permission. Ta-da!
Oh, I love it.
That was good.
That's a good one.
It's a good one. I mean, I wrote it, but yeah. The company sent it to me, but yes.
Right. They told you what they wanted you to say.
Yes.
So I love any work by Glennon Doyle, and she writes Untamed, which is one of my favorite books. I just read it for a second time about a month ago. But I don't remember if it was in Untamed or if it was in her other book, Love Warrior, but she talks about permission slips, and that sometimes you have to write yourself a permission slip. Because we are always looking for permission.
Always. Yeah. And I've touched on it like on a few groups that I post in, as far as like not listening to the negativity of other people, but sometimes about not just that, but allowing yourself to like go do what you really want to go do. Like, what's stopping you other than guilt, a sense of obligation to other people's needs and their wants and desires? So anyway, I think part of this for both of us is when we go against the norm, we have a chance of having extraordinary lives on our terms. And isn't that what everybody really wants? I would imagine.
Right.
Yeah. Before we get too far into our topic today, which is actually going to be a day in the life of van life, I wanted to shout out to a couple people who are huge fans, and we keep meaning to do this. But today's topic was a request by Carrie. I think Carrie may be our biggest fan, as far as one who she writes narratives and if you ever need someone to support and lift you up, have a Carrie.
Yes, absolutely.
Everyone needs a Carrie. Not far behind Carrie is Eric. And I know Eric has he's mentioned you or has communicated with you and follows your podcast now. Also on my end is Marsha. She's the mom of a really good friend of mine. And so she seems to be liking these and following along. Kathy is another woman I met at an RV park in Georgia. She's been following along. And I have to huge shout out to my friend Tammy. She actually is the one who came up with the name of our show. So all of my friends and all of our fans and not less will be getting the new sticker. Boom.
Ooh, yes.
Yes. You too can have a Girls Just Want to Drive Van sticker sent to you by slow mail from the closest post office. Now, I'm sure you have some fans that write to you specifically because they're your friends and family. Who you got?
So the first one I want to shout is my dear friend Jenny. She actually, I taught her daughter when she was in first grade, my very first year of teaching. And then I was so lucky to keep Jenny as a close friend and watch her daughter grow up into an amazing person too. But Jenny has been a huge supporter of our podcast, of my podcast, just a huge cheerleader and just a wonderful human. So I want to shout Jenny. I want to shout my sister, who listens to every episode, gives us feedback and suggestions for new topics. And also my mom. My mom is, she's the number one fan.
I didn't list a mother or a father on my list. I just like to point out my mom. I don't think my mom's listening or watching these at all. So that's like, so I'm so proud of you. I'm so glad Jenny's mom watches the show and family. That's great, actually. So yeah, if you send me their addresses, I will send them the sticker since we are not in the same state. So you don't even have a sticker.
I don't even have a sticker. I'm a hard target to mail something to also.
Yes,
but one day when we meet up, I'll get one.
So talking about a day in the life of van life, I'll let you start off, Jenny. Like, tell me a typical day for you in your van.
Yeah, and as I was thinking about this, mine's changed a lot because I started this new job back in November, and that has changed my days dramatically, because now I work 40 plus hours a week. So typically I am up. I love to have a nice slow morning, but my time zones make working normal hours kind of weird too, because now I work at 7 a.m. So normally I get up early, I take Dakota out, drink some coffee, hang out. My favorite thing in the whole world is like watching the sunrise and watching the sunset. So try and incorporate that into every day. But then I work straight from 8 to 4, without like much break in between.
Okay.
So I'm teaching full time, and that job, it requires all of my attention. And so all of a sudden it's 8 o'clock, and then boom, it's 4, and hopefully I've eaten some lunch in between, and then my adventure gets to start. So I'm either hiking with Dakota or running or trying to work out. And we'll get to this topic later, I cook in my van.
What? What? Cooking?
Yeah. So usually involves some sort of meal prep, planning, cooking. And then I don't rest well, so my evenings are filled with podcast or writing or playing piano or catching up with friends. So my days are very full, and then usually a walk at sunset with the dog. And then it looks totally different, like on a weekend or a break.
Right, because you're on school break now.
Yes, I'm on school break now, which is why now I'm in like casual clothes again. But part of the reason why I got in the van was because I love outdoor sports. So camping, hiking, mountain biking, all of it. So my free time is filled with as much of that as possible. So like breaks look like this week I went rock climbing, and I think today I'm going mountain biking. I just went for a run. So just filling my days with as much activity as possible. But the normal weekday looks like a lot of working and keeping myself alive with meal prep.
We don't have cable, right?
Mhm.
So maybe one difference between us and what everyone has been doing for almost a year as far as being shut down in their homes is that we don't have cable. We each have phone services, but we usually have to save our data for work. So entertainment I keep it to a minimum on my phone. Clearly I'm doing this and I'm doing the podcast and I save that data. I do have obviously data that I use to do this, but when you have limited data that you have to use and rely on, you start to minimize your social footprint. As far as I'm not on just searching and watching YouTube channels or watching Netflix and chilling. I hear that's a thing.
Yep.
So I'm not doing that. I mean, I'm not doing it. So I'm clearly not doing it because I don't want to waste my data. I think I'm sure I know what it means. So
Okay.
but I say that to say, so I think our lives are very similar to the way people were when they were shut down or when we were all staying in place. However, like I said, we didn't have the entertainment with the data, which made us, for me, I think it makes me more creative. When I want to stay busy, and there's only so much hiking and walking and all that I want to do, because unlike you, I didn't train for marathons.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Right? I mean, just to be fair, Jenny is an marathons, right? Or triathlons. What were they?
Both.
Right. Okay. So there's a reason why you live a life full of activity where I am active. I like to walk and go on hikes and, go pick flowers, but I'm not I don't have a Fitbit. I'm not tracking how many miles or how many calories. I mean, it's not that person. So
yeah.
I have a lot of time because I'm not climbing a mountain like you with a backpack and a tent. I have time to paint and play the ukulele and do things like this. Like this is I think I'm better now creatively because I have less distractions. Now I will say, like, being parked in an RV park like I am, I have more neighbors to talk to and I have more interaction. So in some ways that's distracting. Like the other morning I had the woman next to me was sitting down and then another woman came up across and then later in the evening there was another group kind of chatty, and I can find myself, I'm like, wow, I haven't spent this much time chatting with live people in a while. So it does, and at the same time I'm thinking I got things I need to go do.
Yeah.
But like you, I like to watch the sunrise, love to watch it set. And then I find that my clock has changed while I've been in the van. I tend to go to bed much earlier and get up way early. But as far as like my activities during the day, I work part-time. Sometimes those hours are extensive. Like the first part of this week was really busy with a project for work. It tapers down and then it'll tick back up. So I may only work an hour 2 days a week, but the rest of the time I'm working, 3, 4, 5 hours a day, which isn't a lot. I get it, but I'm a part-time contract employee. So yeah, I get to spend a lot of time with my dog, which is great. And like I said, being creative, it does change the way I think about things. I will say I watch the weather more. Like right now, there's a big storm that came through here. So I tend to watch the weather more to see about, not that I can really do anything short notice, but long term, if they predict, like when we were in Colorado, after I was with you, there was that snow front that was coming through. It was like an early snow front coming, like way early. It still was summer, but there was supposed to snow. So I boogied out. Like I got as far away from it as possible. Ended up only having 2 kind of crummy cold days instead of being in the snow. So I watch the weather more than I ever have in my life. And I plan. I have a lot of trip planning. Like when you can go anywhere, where do you go? you have to do a lot of research, and then I start looking at weather patterns where I'm going. So I do find that van life has been good for me creatively. I may not paint, because I used to be an oil painter. I may not paint large pieces or even use the oils that I used to, but I can still I still feel being creative is easier in this space. It's like a cocoon that I've made of my creative space. Actually, this is a local artist from the town that I keep my post office and my mail from, Michelle Ali. So I do have some local artists that I have room for. So that's nice. But yeah, the day in the life. Oh, but we can touch on cooking a little bit. I
was
I'm
thinking too, like, I guess about like a day in the life, thinking about like what somebody who doesn't live in a van might be wondering about.
Okay.
Is not even just like what we fill our time with, but like the little things and what those look like. Like, I get up and like I have a couple of outfits that I can rotate through. I pick out my clothes, but I'm not like getting up and jumping in the shower. Like,
good point.
I have a kitchen sink, and I sort of do my hair at the sink. I can wash my face, but like I actually, one of the first things I do when I get up is the night before I have set up my stove, which is right sort of next to my bed. And then I set up my kettle. So before I get out of bed, I start a burner to boil water for coffee. So like from bed, my alarm gets off, I start coffee, put some clothes on, get Dakota fed, get out, take her for a little walk, come back. And then it's like, yeah, I wash my face, brush my teeth. I have a sink to do all of that in.
Right.
And cook a quick breakfast. And then I kind of transition my kitchen area to my workspace for the rest of the day.
Right.
I don't have
that
to
same
commute.
space is your desk during the day.
Yes.
So you can't hold class and cook.
Yeah, I mean, my kitchen, my stove top is right behind where my computer is. So they're both set up, but one's kind of in front of the other. That way I don't have to move them around. So if I need to cook something for lunch, but yeah, I'm like trying to think of some of the things that might be interesting as far as like what is different about my life. Like, yeah, I don't have a TV, but I guess I didn't watch much TV before the van too much either. But yeah, like I have a refrigerator in here. So when I do cook, I have all of that, I'm not commuting, but yeah. And then the evening is just like, all right, what are you going to fill your time with? And I do find that lately, in like the last year, I guess, I've ended up traveling with people more, or knowing more people on the road where we're constantly crossing paths. So I feel like a lot of my evenings are spent with other ladies on the road, or like you were saying, where you end up not doing all the things you have to do, because my evenings are spent hanging out with other van people.
I would imagine your van people are a little bit of a different dynamic than when I'm at an RV park, especially when I was in Florida, because it's a lot of snowbirds or people who are retired. I will say I'm seeing a lot more families, a lot more younger people still full-timing. And right across from me, actually, there is a couple that went from boat life to RV life. So they've just made the transition. Now they're in a large Class A, so they have the high life.
Yeah.
I think they went from a sailboat to a large Class A. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of living space that they got. But that's a big transition. So I would imagine the people we're meeting are a little bit different. However, I often wonder, it crossed my mind that I wonder if people think I'm homeless when I tell them that I live in a van. However, when I meet people like this, that they're living full-time in their RVs, and I bet no one would say that they're homeless. But yeah, do you feel that people look at you as if you're homeless?
Not really. I mean, but I guess I'm also not coming in contact with too many people that aren't in vans.
Oh,
You know, like I guess when I meet other people, they're also in vans.
Interesting.
I don't know. I guess early on when I would meet, like, I'm thinking of an instance where I met my cousin's future in-laws. And this was, 2+ years ago. So van life hadn't exploded quite as much yet. And they were in, like, from Tennessee, and, like, I think they're also from Alabama, maybe. So, like, not a hot spot for van life either.
Sure.
So what I was doing blew their minds. So yeah, I did feel a little more homeless, whereas people are like, wait, you do what? You live how?
Right.
But my day to day, no, I guess I also like, because I camp on like public lands, like we were talking about before, where my style of travel is free public lands a lot. And so you do run into people who are a bit more homeless than I am, as far as like they're really roughing it, and like maybe they're by circumstance and not by choice.
Right.
So I guess I don't feel as homeless because I'm often surrounded by people who are roughing it quite a bit more than me.
That makes sense. And I guess I was trying to figure out, like, where did that come from for me? And I think it's because I go to dog parks. I take Willie Nelson to dog parks. So I roll my whole house to the dog park because we're in towns. We've been in towns for months now. So I think when I start a conversation with people and they find out I'm in for full time in the van, I've gotten this sense that they feel like I'm homeless. And I'm like, well, yeah. So I was like, where'd that feeling come from? And it was a new feeling that I had not felt when we were in Colorado camping and Utah and all those places. And you're right, we were surrounded by other campers, regardless of what they were camping in. We all shared the same kind of lifestyle. So when I'm in town, it's a little bit different. Not different, just different. People, I feel like I'm an oddity. Not that that's a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing at all sometimes. But yeah, I've seen the look go over people, like, so that's what you live in? Like, yeah, it's great. Now I have gotten that's so cool, usually from younger people. But yeah, so no, I'm not homeless, but our lives are filled with lots of time. I find I have more time now. You're working full time, so I don't think you're feeling that so much right now.
No, I'm feeling that. I used to feel that way when I was working part time, but now I'm feeling like, all I do is work. But then this summer will be the exact opposite. Or like this week, I have this week off work, and I've just been playing.
So talking about playing, I want to next week talk about something that's happening that we haven't talked about, which is dating in van life. So next week, I'm queuing this up for next week. It gives you a week, Jenny, to prepare to talk about
not mess
dating.
This up.
And not mess up what's going. I'm like, either way, we're talking about it. We're talking about it. I would say that again, we are both doing things very differently, not only the way we live and move and work, but also in our personal lives. So I think we should talk about that next week, because I think it's kind of interesting. It's interesting for me when I hear your stories.
Yeah, it's my like van life legacy. It's the thing I've been asked most to write about or interview about or talk about is dating on the road. I think I probably am more adventurous in my dating life on the road than most other nomads.
Oh, well, yeah. But it lends itself a lot of questions, right? So let's talk about those next week. But again, thank you, Carrie, for the suggestion, talking about our lives. But again, I think our lives are very similar to anyone that's been locked down for several weeks.
Yeah.
The only difference is we could actually change our backyard view. But that's the same kind of feeling, and we didn't have cable. So if you had been locked in your home and didn't go very many places at the grocery store, and you didn't have cable, how would your life be? That's van life. So are you going to be traveling again this week?
I don't know yet.
Okay. Well,
For
I
those
am.
listening, the look that Milo just gave me.
Okay. So, well, my goal is that he has his checkup on Friday. I'm gonna have him. I may have them do a few more tests. I don't want to get on the road with him until I know what's happening and that he's good. Speaking of my dog, of course. And then I plan on coming west.
Yes.
So
Good. Excellent.
I think I'm ready to come back to the van world as far as free camping and open space. So
yes.
it's time. So first dog has to be well, and then west we go.
Excellent.
West we go.
Keep my fingers crossed.
Yes. So hopefully I'll see you there.
Yeah, I'll be out here somewhere, but you know, I try not to make plans.
Sure. All right. Well, I will talk to you next week.
Excellent.
Enjoy the rest of your vacation.
I sure will.
I'm sure you will. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Coming soon, you will be able to subscribe to receive our newsletter, which will include links to our campsites, items we carry on our vans, and photos from our journey.
You can also catch Jenny on her podcast, Adventures from the Van.
Or tune in to Milo's podcast at Milo Talks.
Thanks for listening, and just go do and see everything you can in a safe way.